So what we are defining as the most basic form of energy is work. And work is defined as the effort that it takes to move an object. Did somebody over here say that? So now we can turn that sentence into an equation. This is the most basic form of energy. Work is another word for energy. Effort can be defined as, any ideas? How would we? Force, yes. And to make an object move, how would we measure that? Yeah. Good job. So we can indeed turn that sentence into a formula to help us guide our thinking mathematically. The units are Newton-meters. The hyphen just means multiply by. It doesn't mean subtract. It's a hyphen, not a subtraction symbol. And that is abbreviated with capital J, or joule. Now in physics, Newton meters also are the unit that we use for torque, so that's like a force that causes an object to spin. The way we differentiate between Newton meters for energy and Newton meters for torque is we call it joules when it's energy, and we just call it plain old Newton meters when it's torque. Okay? So that's just an aside. So let's say we have our block sitting on our table, and let's say that it has a mass of 3 kilograms. And we push that block with 10 newtons of force. And we do that, and it covers a half a meter on this table. Now, I can push it with 10 newtons of force, just nice and parallel. I could push it like this on an angle, right? Wow, I made a scratch on the desk. I could push it like this, like up on an angle. Does the orientation have anything to do based on the quiz you just took? Yeah. Yeah, you betcha. So it's the force that's applied in the direction of motion, okay? Parallel to the direction of motion. That's the force that we care about. So far this is okay. That's parallel to the surface. If this were like a sandpaper surface, and I still use 10 newtons of force to push it a half a meter, how would that compare to if this were like an air hockey table? Whee! And I pushed it on a nice low friction surface. Still using 10 newtons of force for 0.5 meters. Would the work that I put in be any different in those two scenarios? No, the work is the same. What's going to be different? Yeah, it'll be quicker on the air hockey table, right? What else? We're going to say I'm going to apply the distance over 0.5 meters. So I'm setting that. But what will happen after I'm done in those two scenarios? Let's take this out into space now, where there's no friction, no air resistance, and I push it with 10 newtons of force, 0.5 meters, and let go. What's going to happen? Right, it's going to keep going. So the effects are very different depending on the conditions in which the energy is being transferred. Okay? Who has a really big gas-guzzling, inefficient vehicle that they drive, like a big old family car? Noah, what do you drive?
Well, my mom drives a Toyota.
Is that big?
Big.
Is it big? It's like a Hummer?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't go that much gas.
All right. It's not in the single digits, but just barely makes the double digits?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Before we got our new car, we used to have an old Yukon, 96 Yukon.
Yeah.
It got double digits on a good day.
Downhill, wind at your back, right?
At your back if you
Got
had just recently gotten an oil change.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Other than that, you got about 7.
All right. So that's a great example. By the way, great kid car, right? Great teenage car. A lot of children have come through my house. driven big, old, heavy cars. Why do you want teenagers, what's the physics? Why do you want teenagers driving big, old cars? Yeah, right. So, what?
That way they don't have money to spend on something else.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, somehow magically, all of my children, not even just my biological children, but all of the children who have learned to drive that while they've lived in my home have hit the house. Multiple times the house has been hit. Yeah. They are, well, it's just like they get too close. I live in town, everything's kind of close together. Yeah. Jesus, you guys know who Jesus is? He lives with me in the winter. He just hit the house the other day. I'm like, he was so worried. Oh, I'm so sorry, I hit the house. I'm like, dude, get in line. Because everybody's hitting the house. All right. So who has a nice little efficient car that they drive? What do you drive? PT Cruiser? Yeah. What kind of gas mileage?
Usually, doesn't do too bad.
That's pretty good.
It's not like super, but.
Okay, all right, that's
I
pretty
think
good.
it's pretty
Wait, you have a tiny car as well?
Like I said, that was our old car.
Oh,
We got
what's the new car?
It's a 2007 Impala.
Okay.
Right after we have maxed it at like 27 to the gallon, we on average get like 24.
Okay. Emily, what is your family? Does your family have a real efficient car?
I have a Prius.
A Prius.
We actually have two Priuses.
You have two
Yeah, her
Priuses?
dad has a Prius and she has a Prius.
You got like the crunchy granola hippie parents going on there? A little bit?
A little.
Crunchy granola hippie.
Yeah. Your father, by the way, was so obnoxious at back to school night, by the way. Something. I don't know. He was like that kid who's like, oh, he was just.
Oh, Harvey.
I know. Harvey.
You should tell us how all of our parents were.
Your parents were very lovely. They were very nice. Everybody got quiet. All right, so how many, Emily, any idea how many miles to the gallon the Prius gets? It's a little bit of a cheat because it's electric as well, it's a hybrid, but how many miles to the gallon? Yeah. And it's better in the city, right?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so what's going on there in terms of efficiency is this example with pushing the block. So when you put gas in your car, it's the part of the gas tank that gets the car to go down the road, we're going to call good energy. And the part of the gas tank that turns into heat, that doesn't get you down the road, we'll call bad energy. So remember, energy is a scalar quantity, so it does not have direction. But we as human beings have very specific designs and intent and purpose for our energy. Okay? My son had a close friend in high school that he was one of my nerds. He was like you guys. And he had a thing about trying to maximize efficiency. He drove, I think it was a stick. Yeah. And he would put it into neutral. He talked to me about this multiple times. Put it into neutral while so he would coast downhill. Then he thought, ooh, better, if I'm going downhill, I'm going to shut off the engine. Or like sitting at a light, at a stoplight, if I'm stopped, shut off the engine. Now it takes a little more gas to get right, to start the engine, to get the flywheel moving, but he had done some math and figured that it was still worth it. For some reason, he decided that, and he drove like a little old man, by the way, very, very slow, always drive 5 miles per hour under the speed limit. Not so slow, because it was more efficient. It was all about the math, too. He was trying to make it all work out. So he drove like a little old man, except for when he was going around corners, because there he felt that if he slowed down and sped up, that was a waste, because of the acceleration and deceleration. So it was like taking your life in your hands when he went around a corner. But the rest of the time, straight line, it was like, He's now at the University of Michigan, and he's on the, ironically enough, the solar car team. That does so, trying to get zero gas guzzling. All right. Well, yeah, the sun's pretty efficient. Solar panels are pretty dang efficient. All right, let's take this work formula and let's turn it sideways. Let's make it go vertical, okay? Let's take an apple. That's an apple tree. And we're going to take this apple and we're going to put it up in the tree, okay? We're going to lift it and set it in the tree 2 meters. And the apple has a mass of, let's say
6 Newtons.
1 kilogram. So using our work formula, energy equals force times distance, work equals force times distance. I'll write it here.
Wait, we're putting the apple back.
Yes, we're putting the apple back up into the tree. Will it take work to lift the apple and put it up in the tree?
Yes.
Yes, of course it will. What would we know what the distance is. We're going to lift it 2 meters, right? What's the force, the minimum force you need to lift a 1 kilogram apple? Good, 9.8 newtons. The force to lift an object is equal to its weight. So I'm going to substitute for force, mass times gravity, or, as Trey said, 9.8 newtons. And then the distance here is 2 meters, so vertically, when we orient that, we're going to call it height. And so we just turned our basic work equation into a vertically oriented equation, gravitational potential energy. Okay? Just another way to say work. Now, the reason it's called potential energy is because potential means stored. So anytime you have an object that is sitting above the local ground level, it's different, depending on where you are in terms of sea level, right? But like in this room, the tile floor is considered ground level. Does our block, our keep calm and carry on block, have gravitational potential energy? Yeah, how come? It's above the ground. So if I knock it off the tip, then that energy is converted. What kind of energy did it have when it was falling? Kinetic. Very good. That's moving energy. Do you all have potential energy due to gravity right now?
Yeah.
Yes. Why?
Because if you pull the chair out, you're gonna.
Right. If I pull the chair out, you fall on the ground. I had a very, very, very sad experience this morning.
Yeah.
I'll share it with you because I trust you. This is a safe space, right? And I'm assuming that you're not going to turn me into the federal authorities because I think I may have committed a federal crime.
We all have at some point.
So I went to the inauguration, the last one, and I got a tiny Obama bobblehead. Yes. I broke his feet off.
Humbled the president.
Mr. President, I'm so sorry. And he makes me happy because, like, if I'm having a hard day, I come in and Tiny Barack will give me a tiny high five. Oh, yay. Have a good day, Miss Nick. See? Oh. So I do still have his feet and the whole, okay. So I will, yes, we'll do some surgery, but I was afraid it might be a federal crime.
Wasn't he sitting over there like last week?
Yes, this morning.
Oh, right.
Potential to kinetic energy.
Wait,
Oh,
exactly.
Tiny Barack. What? I accident. It was totally an accident.
What, did you throw something across?
No.
This isn't.
No. I kind of have a strange crush on, not Tiny Barack, the real Barack Obama. Even though I know he's got the goofy, I know he's married. I know I'm married. There are some impediments to our love, but the heart wants what it wants.
What if he knows you?
See, look, Ian's like tilting his head like, oh, Tiny Barack. He understands. So I was in a small group, and it was all mommies. It was all women my age, and I don't know, somehow politics came up, and I expressed my undying love for Mr. President, and it got real quiet. And I'm like, oh, all Republicans. Sorry. Moving on. All right. So now let's go the other way. What if we drop the apple, as I did to my tiny Mr. President, and it falls and converts its potential energy into kinetic? How do we quantify that? Well, if we could figure out the final velocity when the apple hits the ground, when it's going the other way, then we would have a way to quantify, to give a number value to how fast it's moving, right? And so we could do that using this equation. Remember this? Yeah. So the final velocity would be equal to 2 times, what's the acceleration for any falling object? Negative 9.8, so gravity. And the distance that it falls is height. And what's the initial velocity when it's up here sitting in the tree? 0. So, hey, I can see some common variables here, my friends.
Whoa.
I know. So I'm going to solve for GH so that then I can put it into some kind of energy form. So final velocity squared divided by 2 equals GH. You with me? And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to substitute it right here for GH. So I'm going to carry down the mass because that has to go along for the ride. And then final velocity squared over 2. Hey, guess what? We rearrange this and it's kinetic energy. 1/2 mv squared. So now we have 3 equations that we can use to do basic conservation of energy problems. In other words, these are all joules, they're all Newton meters, and you can convert back and forth from one form to another, right?
How come it's kinetic energy? Don't those equations in a way equal each other?
They do. They absolutely do. It's just a way, I mean, you can set them equal to each other, you can add and subtract them from each other. It's just another way to describe the energy that an object has due to its motion. So see how there's a velocity here? Here there's a height, so that's when we're lifting stuff up. Here there's a force. So different ways of getting energy. Like
Are we gonna write the peg and the other equations up on the board?
you betcha. You better believe it. I will make it happen sometime in the next 24 hours. Patrick.
Why are you dividing the mass by 2 also? That's just.
It came from this equation right here. When I did this. You're one of those kids that has to know why.
Yeah, but I mean, still, the M.
I just carried it over here. I just carried the 1/2. I just pulled out the 1/2. Is that what you're asking? Patrick, why do you need to understand? Just memorize it. It's fine. You don't need to understand it. That was sarcasm, my friend. That's right.
Are these your substitute for your butterscotch?
Right, for right now they are, yes. I know. You guys they don't know about tiny packets of sunshine, so. All right, but I used to have butterscotch, now I have dum-dums, but they're for when you're not a dum-dum. The 4 kids who passed, the 4 kids who passed the quiz in 4th hour all got dum-dums that, like, taped to their quiz.
No.
I prefer butter.
So much better than a 10 out of 10. They were like,
Okay. Choice of a dum-dum or a butterscotch?
possibility. All right, homework tonight is 5A.